I understand and respect the reservations that some of you have expressed about having another recently retired general at the head of the Department of Defense. The safety and security of our democracy demands competent civilian control of our armed forces, the subordination of military power to the civil. I spent my entire life committed to that principle.
Retired General Lloyd Austin at his confirmation hearing to become the nation's first black defense secretary. Now on the job just over 6 weeks, we sat down to discuss the obstacles facing the military across the Middle East, the COVID pandemic, and extremism within the ranks. But I began by asking him about his transition from Army four-star general to civilian chief of the armed forces. Lloyd Austin's years in uniform stretched from the halls of West Point to the battlefields of Iraq, where I shared a ride out of Baghdad with him back in 2011. How does your combat experience, your 41 years in uniform, guide you now as a civilian leader?
You certainly come into the position with a great appreciation for the complexities of combat, and you also have an appreciation for the impact that combat has not only on the country that you're fighting in, but also on the resources of the countries that are actually fighting. You know, we want to lead with diplomacy in every case, but if deterrence fails and you must fight, you fight to win. And so you want to make sure that your troops are properly resourced, properly trained, and focused the right way so that they can not only win, but win decisively.
During his 41 years in the Army, it was not just combat that tested Austin. He broke through many racial barriers along the way.
I can remember going to a bus station with my mother and looking at the restrooms that were male, female, and colored. That's kind of how we started, how I started as a child, and to be able to rise to a position of Secretary of Defense in my lifetime is quite incredible. But you have to ask yourself, why it took so long to have an African-American Secretary of Defense. What we want to make sure happens going forward is that I am not the last African-American Secretary of Defense, that we create those opportunities in our ranks for African-Americans and Hispanics to rise to the very highest ranks in our military.
And to that end, battling extremism is high on his agenda. I want to turn to January 6th. More than 40 veterans have been arrested from that day. You have asked for a one-day stand down for everyone to talk about extremism. What are you hearing in terms of extremism in the ranks?
I just got an initial brief back from our service secretaries on how they're conducting the stand down, and they're all going about it in a bit of a different way, as you would expect. Great initiative, and they're all doing great work. They're having some really in-depth conversations with their troops on values, on the oath that we took, on the importance of unit cohesion. This is not about political parties or political beliefs. This is behavior that can really tear at the fabric of our institution. And so we want to make sure that our troops are reminded of what our values are, reminded of the oath that we took coming in. And my belief, my strong belief, Martha, is that 99.9% of our troops embrace those values and are focused on the right things and are doing the right things each and every day.
I want to move to Iraq. This week, we saw a second significant attack with those 10 rockets. Do you know who did it, and what kind of responses might we expect?
Well, we're still developing the intelligence. We're encouraging the Iraqis to move as fast as they can to investigate the incident, and they are doing that. But you can expect that we will always hold people accountable for their acts. We want to make sure that again, we understand who's responsible for this. The message to those that would carry out such an attack is that, expect us to do what's necessary to defend ourselves. We'll strike if that's what we think we need to do at a time and place of our own choosing. We demand the right to protect our troops.
Has Iran been given the message that this is not an escalation when we retaliate?
I think Iran is fully capable of assessing, the strike and our activities, and they'll draw their own conclusions. But what they should draw from this, again, is that we're going to defend our troops, and our response will be thoughtful. It will be appropriate. We would hope that they would choose to do the right things.
And I want to talk about Saudi. You said last week you had a good call with your counterpart, the defense minister, who happens to be Mohammed bin Salman, the crown prince, who the U.S. said had approved the kill or capture of Jamal Khashoggi. How do you deal with a counterpart like that?
Our president has been clear that we'll have a different type of relationship with the Saudis going forward. And it doesn't mean that it won't be a good relationship. I fully expect that it will be a good relationship, but it will be a bit different. My focus is to defend this country and protect our interests. And Saudi is, from my perspective, it is a strategic partner in the region. And certainly we have security commitments in that area. And it's necessary that we're going to have to work together to make sure that we achieve our goals and objectives. But I think just because you have a good strategic relationship with an ally or partner, it doesn't mean that you can't hold them accountable for various things.
He was not sanctioned. He was not punished.
Everything that we do as in the U.S., we're going to lead with our values, but we're going to protect our interests.
And on China, you just published your priorities for the force, and you specifically call out China.
China's been busy modernizing its military and developing capabilities and trying to close the competitive edge that we've always enjoyed. They've also been very aggressive in the region. In some cases, they've been coercive, and some of that coercion has been directed against our allies. And our allies are very important to us.
You also said in your priorities that the greatest domestic threat to our security is COVID. I know that FEMA has asked for 100 teams to go out there. You're up at about 18. What can we expect in the coming weeks?
The military has a significant capacity, and we can add speed and scale to anything that we endeavor to take part in. I've been out to visit our troops that are out there vaccinating, and it's really remarkable to see not only how our troops feel about what they're doing, but also how the American public responds to the interaction with our troops. It's just amazing, just fantastic.
Thanks very much, Secretary.
Thanks, Martha.
And our thanks to Secretary Austin.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.